This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. As we move closer to 2030, and really as we just move closer in this insane reality that they're creating, we have to watch a lot of these stories out there and also how they're marketing these deceptions to both Democrats and conservatives. Because again, a lot of the conservatives out there who follow alt-right media don't realize that they're part of the deception that's going on by participating in that, by participating in being a Republican versus being a Democrat. You see a lot of this stuff on college campuses going on where they're tricking these kids to do protests for one side versus the other, and nobody uses the common sense to say, hey, how about we just go after the governments who are responsible, who are waging war on citizens, the governments of both places, right? But instead they side with the civilian side, instead of pointing the finger at the people responsible for doing it. And of course, when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about conservatives being deceived into that. But this is the other thing that I always am concerned about with conservatives, because they seem to believe in this UFO deception. They seem to believe that the government's hiding this from them, and it's part of the conspiracy going on is the government's hiding aliens. But the fact of the matter is that the government is something planned around aliens, which is why you've heard about aliens going back to the creation of the television set to create this fabricated reality around you that is ultimately here to deceive you. And aliens do not exist. Demons do exist. We learned this obviously by using common sense, right? We learn this with our own eyes. Not to believe in things that we don't see with our own eyes, not just to take the television's word at it. Now, for those of you that are aware, I know the majority of you are, but there are some new people here. Okay, the whole concept of an alien is derived from the occult. Aleister Crowley summoned this demon Lam. It's an entity. You see it on your screen. He says today they call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they will call them something else. And of course, that is in fact aliens. People don't even realize that no one goes, how do we have this image of a gray? Right? Did somebody just sit there and just go, let me come up with something here, right? The whole depiction of a gray alien, which is the alien that we see depicted in movie after movie after movie that all look the same. Okay, this is a depiction of Lam, which is a deity. It is a demon. They once called them angels and demons. They now call them aliens. That's what Crowley is referring to. And of course, this has everything to do with not just the acceptance in our society of these demonic entities that they're bringing over, but also massive deceptions they're going to create in the sky, which is going to thus form a new world order. Remember, the motto, order out of chaos. Okay? Ultimately, they're creating all this division to eventually unite us. People will be exhausted. They will be mentally exhausted and physically exhausted from all the things that they're waging on us. And people are already right now, psychologically, from the stories we hear on a day in, day out basis. But I always use this clip so people out there can understand when Reagan talks at the UN about how it would take an outside force, how it would take something like an alien to cause all the nations to come together as one. And ultimately what he's talking about is bringing the nations together as one, as a one world order, a one world government, thus a new world order. Listen to this speech.
We often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
So, of course, that means in order for that to happen, this is the plan. He's telling you what the plan is, right? By telling you that that's what it would take for all of us to have peace and unity, right? And as we know, the Antichrist will come in the name of love and peace, and this will be part of the deception that occurs because people will be begging for peace, and these people are the ones who are deliberately causing all the division and causing all the chaos. And ultimately, when we see that speech by Reagan, what he fails to mention is that all the problems in the world are caused by the governments in the world, and all these governments in the world are doing this to their people. And of course, ultimately, they know by creating a massive deception in the sky that they could unite humanity, but also herd humanity. So here's the story out there being marketed on News Nation, which is kind of mainly a conservative media outlet. Possible UFO reported over LaGuardia Airport. And you see conservatives continue not only to believe in the left-right deception, but also believe in a lot of these other things that they're pushing towards them, like UFOs and aliens, and thinking in their mind, well, the alien thing's got to be real, right? Because there's all these video things that come out here and there, of course, conveniently here and there scattered, when you would think if this was really going on, then we'd have millions and millions of documented proof with the technology we have in today's world, right? They leak a little bit to you. And of course, any type of alien, or excuse me, UFO that's been seen in the sky is government aircraft. People out there, I constantly get comments, or I used to get comments, barely anybody comments anymore, but I used to get comments and people would say, I've seen one with my own eyes. I've seen it before. You've seen government aircraft, okay? And it doesn't mean that aliens themselves aren't real, but what they are demons and demonic entities. So demonic forces are real. And let's take a look at this clip from News Nation, who is pushing this, talking about how, whoa, you know, and they show the clip somebody filmed from their phone. And of course, this makes television, and then people just go, yeah, aliens are real. And then, of course, when the government decides to release Project Bluebeam, which I've covered many times over, and reveal this stuff that is obviously tested, all these things that they've done, these deceptions in the sky that we've seen. You've probably seen some of the stuff they've even done with drones in the sky. It's unbelievable the type of technology we've allowed them to allocate over the years. And they have the technology to create this stuff. We've seen them do, you know, some of these concerts where they do holograms of these people who are dead, like Michael Jackson or Tupac, or supposedly dead, I should say. They do this stuff right in front of our eyes. And you don't think that they would use that to their advantage to deceive you into doing and falling for something that they want you to fall for? Of course. But here's News Nation, again, pumping the UFO deception, calling it things like a flying cylinder spotted from a plane window. Oh, yeah. Was she the only one on the plane that saw it? Apparently.
I am going to make you a bet that the next time you get a window seat on a plane, you're going to think of this next story, and you're going to think of the guest who is going to talk about this next story. Michelle Reyes was flying over New York City with her daughter, and she was sitting by a window. When she did what a lot of us do, we, take pictures out the window, nice video of the New York skyline. It's an amazing view. But what Michelle did not expect to see was a cylinder-shaped object zipping across her line of sight near LaGuardia Airport. Was it a bug inside the plane, maybe? Well, she played the video back to look, and no, it was not a bug. Whatever it was definitely outside the plane, and it was flying on its own, and it was really, really fast. Michelle Reyes joins me now exclusively, and I want to welcome back Ben Hansen from UFO Witness on Discovery Plus as well. Michelle, thank you so much for being here. First of all, wow, that was pretty alarming stuff. What did you do with the video, and did you reach out to authorities to share it with them?
Thank you for having me. And when I realized that I had something like this on the video, the first thing I did was I emailed the FAA to let them know what I saw, and maybe it was a safety hazard. I reached out to them. Unfortunately, I haven't heard back from them. They didn't acknowledge my email. And then I sent it to Enigma Labs and the National UFO Database.
And any response?
Enigma Labs was the only one who responded to me.
So
that's
your
how I got in
dad
contact.
apparently. Oh, okay. So, and as I understand, your dad is a former Navy guy, so you were able to share with him as well. What did he say?
I showed it to him first, and he honestly had no idea what it was either. He had no idea. He was just as baffled as I was.
Did you guys settle on the fact that it maybe was a drone? It was going awfully fast to be a drone, but was that the best guess?
He thought it may be a drone, but he didn't think that it should be where it was, that close to the aircraft. So he really didn't have an answer for me. He was just as clueless as I was. He's seen a lot of things, and he couldn't give me an answer, but if he had to guess, he would have said drone.
So it's a good thing Ben Hansen is here. You host a show called UFO Witness. What do you think about this Tic Tac video, Ben?
This was incredible, honestly, because it took a while just for us to get in touch with Michelle. It wasn't for her posting it on the app. Someone had borrowed, stole it from her social media and posted it as if they were her friend. So we had no idea who she was. We were looking up flights and trying to figure out which flight she was on. When we finally were able to contact her, she, for me, has been completely just genuine, sincere. We've now started to analyze the video, and I feel a little awkward saying this with her here, but find no evidence that she faked this or hoaxed it. I didn't from the beginning, but we had to run it through, the proper data analysis, and it's there. It's very clear, which is unusual. So to me, I feel as though this is probably something not terribly far in the distance, but it also there's problems with the theory of it being something as simple as an insect, which I would suspect this was happening, on the ground. We're talking 200 plus miles an hour at this point. Her jet is flying. So it passes in about a seventh of a second, and it's present in 5 frames of the video. So there's a lot we can dive into with this, but we're
shiny giant, really fast insect. It definitely doesn't look like an insect. It certainly looks like the Tic Tacs that we've seen in other naval videos as well. And Michelle, did you say there was someone else maybe on that flight who you later were able to determine saw this as well?
Yes, I had posted the video onto my social media, and one of the other moms on the flight, she said that she had noticed it when she was in the air too. So I wasn't the only one who saw it. So it was kind of, a little more like nerve-wracking that someone else also saw what I saw.
Well, I hope the authorities are watching tonight, and I'm sorry to say, that you didn't get the attention that you should have when you alerted them to videos like this. I think it behooves all of us to just at least forward the information. We don't need to make judgment on it, but for heaven's sake, acknowledge that this is unusual, and it certainly does resemble some of the other unusual things we've seen before.
Right, and again, why didn't more people on the plane look at it? Then you get these conservatives who come out and they talk about the conspiracy of it, and then all that does is play into the government's trap, right? The majority of people out there don't understand how important Aleister Crowley is to the occult. I've documented this so many times. It is everywhere in our pop culture. You even see the Jonas Brothers getting away out in public pretending to be Christian, wearing Aleister Crowley on their shirt. Okay, Aleister Crowley is connected to NASA. Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons, one of the fathers of NASA, okay, and L. Ron Hubbard, who is the founder of Scientology, all summoned these spirits out in the desert, right around the area where Area 51 is. They did a lot of these experiments in New Mexico, and these weren't experiments to bring about summon aliens from other planets. They were summoning spirits. They're bringing things over from the other side, which is ultimately what these magic spells and these rituals are to do. And this is what these things look like. This is Lam, the entity that he speaks of, and it's the exact replica of an alien. In the 1700s, the 1800s, people, they weren't walking around talking about aliens, but if you look back at Egyptian hieroglyphics and stuff like that, you see a lot of these drawings, people like, oh, they knew about ancient aliens then. Yeah, the fallen ones, ancient aliens, demons. Yeah, they knew about them because they did exist then. And Babylonians were the people then who were summoning those things. It's in a lot of the Babylonian teachings, okay, which of course, they don't want you to know who follows those Babylonian teachings now, the people that you can't question or talk about because they follow the specific teachings that have to do with summoning these things and worshiping these things. And of course, to summon these things, you have to do a lot of these rituals that involve children and blood. And they don't want to mention that because they don't want you to mention the people who actually still practice those teachings. They want you to think that when the Egyptians were drawing what looks like aliens and some of their drawings that you would see on temple walls, etc., that aliens were coming and visiting them on their UFOs. This has to do with spiritual war. This has to do with demons. And there's a massive deception that's coming out of the alien deception that they're normalizing. This stuff that's going on a day in, day out basis is to condition you into believing it. Okay? And again, the government has the ability to create something in the sky. And by creating something in the sky and saying that now all the nations you need to unite as one, as humans, we need to put our differences aside. There is massive deceptions that are going to be let out of this. And Christians are going to fall for a lot of deceptions too. Mentions of the rapture have everything to do with an alien deception. Project Bluebeam has everything to do with a rapture and a false rapture. So the government has something planned for this. And eventually they're going to pull the trigger on it. It's just a matter of when. It has been talked about since the 60s and 70s, since Project Bluebeam really has come to the forefront in the 90s and the early 2000s. And all we've seen since then is the government gaslighting us with alien stories. We haven't seen anything talking about demons out in the open. They don't talk about that on the news. They never will. The alt-right doesn't bring up demons. They don't bring up Aleister Crowley. They just go, why is the government hiding this from us? Why is the government hiding this from us? And then people just get sucked into it because they're like, yeah, the government's hiding stuff. The government's corrupt. Yeah, they are. But they're also deceiving you by gaslighting you with these stories about UFOs because they ultimately want you to believe in the UFO alien Project Bluebeam invasion that they have planned, which is going to be major, and it's going to cause major deception. So that's News Nation, which again, News Nation is marketed towards conservatives. Conservatives continue to eat right out of the hand of the snake, really, right? They're eating out of the serpent's mouth because they believe this stuff when Donald Trump comes out and he reads you his poem, right? About the snake, right? He's talking about himself, and these people literally hear this stuff and they don't even see it right in front of their faces, that they're being deceived. They believe in Trump. They don't believe that the government is working together, deliberately doing these deceptions, creating these deceptions, and of course, ultimately sabotaging this country and not uniting it, dividing it on purpose. It's the oldest trick in the book, divide and conquer, and you're seeing it in front of us, and this UFO deception is going to play heavily into it. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.